Polity every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Exactly 44 days today since the children who went to school in Orire local government area of Oyo State were kidnapped and they haven't returned. Unfortunately, the frenzy is dying down. And we understand that the government of Oyo State and the federal government, they are doing everything possible, including the curfew, the restriction of movement around that Old Forest Park and that area. Understand is the area where those children are believed to still be held 44 days down the line. We are still calling, we are still pleading that they be returned safely. Mothers are still waiting for their children who they dressed up like I dressed mine up today to go to school to return 44 days later. I'm hoping that so many things are happening. You know, look around you. A lot happened over the weekend, by the way. They don't take over the fact that 44 days today, those children are yet to come back. And now to the things that happened over the weekend. We understand that somewhere in Kogi State, a parent and two other ladies, a male parent, by the way, a father and two other ladies went to the school of their child where the child had reportedly been punished by a teacher and assaulted the teacher, and she died after being treated in the first hospital, referred to the second one, and eventually she didn't make it. We also understand that somewhere in Enugu State, there was a jungle justice case that left a man too swollen to be recognized. According to reports, he was accused of having stolen money, which, by the way, was a false alarm, and he was beaten to a pulp. And the question is, where do we draw the line? Is it that our people do not trust the justice system so much that they decide to take laws into their hands at the first instance? Or is this possibly a case of personal vendetta? So many other things that happened over the weekend would make sense of them on today's edition of the Polity, Monday the 29th of June 2026 on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Tony, and good morning to everybody listening to all this very morning. Of course, the first working day of the week, and we are glad to be here to look at developments in Nigeria. You talked about the issue of jungle justice and just mentioned the one that happened in Enugu State. We also have a case in one of the northern states. I'm trying to recall whether it's Bauchi. I can't remember the exact state now, but there's also a case of which was the mother of those children who handed them over to the woman because the mother was working for the woman. What happened is that the lady in question, is a landlord to the woman, so the woman was working for her, working in her poultry, and she handed over the children to the woman to look after them. So in a bid to free the woman so that she could concentrate on do the job, she went to the market with the three children, only for a woman to spot her and said that there was no resemblance between the children and the woman. That was how she raised the false alarm, and people listening on the woman, they were about to beat her to death before somebody, gave the police a hint and police intervened. So that was how the woman was saved. And it brings to fore why we keep on asking that people should exercise the restraint even when you catch a suspected robber or criminal red-handed. You should be able to hand over to the police, because in most cases we have seen issues of a false alarm and somebody paying a price for what he didn't know about. Then he talked about some other development like the one happening in Kogi State, where A teacher was reportedly, beaten to death. Let's put it that very way. She was beaten like a day to day. She was sent to hospital, and the following day she died in a hospital. I read from somewhere that what actually happened was that the child in question climbed a mango tree and fell from there and broke an arm. So when the teacher saw that, the teacher sent him back to his parents. And when he got home, the parent became furious, alleging that the teacher beat their child. And they came to school with some other persons to beat her up. And look at where we are now. But the best part of the story is that, the suspect had fled the environment because police has gone after them, but they are nowhere to be found. We're hoping the police will be able to be diligent in their investigation and be able to arrest those who were behind that very dastardly act. Then you talk about the issue of one chance. It's still in Onitsha because there was a case that surfaced yesterday. A girl who entered a bus somewhere around Lake, unknown to her that these guys are one chance persons. And guess what happened? While they were in that very vehicle, those guys tried to create a chaos inside the vehicle, and because of that, they stole 2 phones and 1 power bank. But the good thing is that many of them, I think about 3 of them were arrested, but 1 person escaped. So we are bringing this information for you to be,
careful.
If motor, vehicle, because even keke. Because what I discovered is that what they do these days is that once they get in, they will create a chaos inside that very bus. It's like that maybe the person even feel like he's sneezing just to get your attention somewhere else. Once you lose focus, they'll be able to, take out whatever you have. There was one experience I had somewhere around that Bagana. At Oyago, basically. I was just there standing there, after making some purchases, and I was just waiting for a bus. And if I saw some movement, I saw movement of about 3 guys. The way they were moving around, I became suspicious. Then to prove my suspiciousness, or rather to prove my suspicion, I was having my wallet in my hand. I decided to put it at my back pocket, and that back pocket, it has a seal. I put it at the back pocket and sealed it. In less than 2 minutes, the guy came for it. So they just came before me, created a chaos, thinking that all my attention was on that very chaos. As one of them was nudging my shoulder, his hand had gone into my pocket. That was the way I continued the story this morning.
The last time I got in a situation like that, I told them to stop me, and they were like, baby in Eje, and I said, I recall vividly, the guy was just acting like he was not stable. He just kept leaning in on me, and was near harassing. How are you leaning on me so much? Am I your mother? Something just told me, please get down. And I got down for them, and they were just, you see the anger. They were super pissed, and I said, oh, please. I'd rather just have to pay an extra fare to get
people, all the professionals across different fields. I would say good morning to even our farmers, artisans, physically, mentally, financially, psychologically challenged. Any challenge you are facing, we acknowledge that and also say that it is not the end of life. The sickness of the pocket. We understand that over time, throughout the weekend, what has been trending is akara selling. You any social media space or you enter or the handle you move into. The next thing you will see there will be akara selling. And people are using AI to generate all manner of akara selling.
I know somebody who didn't do AI.
Okay.
She did it for real.
All right, okay. Maybe. I don't know. You tell me the person. And finally, we say good morning to God Almighty for His grace, for His love, for all He has been doing for us. Today is 29th of June. Tomorrow it's going to be 30. And by next tomorrow, we'll be talking about July. Telling you that the year has gone beyond half. So it tells you that we are heading close to 2027 general election. And the brouhaha surrounding NDC. Even they say that INEC has denied them access code to upload the nominees or their nominations. But INEC told them that they will hear from them. And INEC is studying the CTC, of course, they are waiting the CTC of that very judgment from local High Court. And there is uncertainty. I listened to Diskin last night. He said quite a lot of things, but we keep our fingers crossed. just sit back and enjoy the program. There's so much to talk about.
Absolutely. And we're going to start off by telling you what the front pages of the paper say. But before then, we need to let you know that Crown Sixers Global Concept Limited is advertising for the position of a supervisor. Also, they are inviting applications from interested and qualified candidates. It is located at 58 Oka Road, opposite Igwe's Palace, Onitsha, Anambra State. Interested candidates should submit their CV through their email or a hard copy in person at the office address, which is 58 Oka Road, opposite Igwe's Palace, Onitsha, Anambra State. Their email is crownsuccess2011, as in crownsuccess2011 at gmail.com. You can also call 0706 943 2991, 0706 943 2991 for more information. Now, this application is open to all interested candidates, and only shortlisted applicants will be contacted. And now let's go to tell you what the front pages say. On our desk today, we have a Daily Sun, Vanguard Punch, and the Guardian newspapers. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and of course, you can drop your comments right there. On the Daily Sun, Anglican Church raises the alarm. This is where it is contained, and we're going to make sense of that. CBN's terror financing crackdown raises compliance burden for banks, bureau de change operators. On page 2, anxiety grows in opposition camps. On page 6, options for Atiku will be others narrow over parties' legal battles. Nigeria's democratic institutions getting weaker, but the judge warns FG's borrowing from local banks jumped 75.6% to 40.38 trillion naira on page 25. The rate here is 17.39 trillion naira borrowed in 1 year. Primaries, get to make sense of that and how possible it is. Nigeria leads sub-Saharan Africa as 24 varsities make 2026 global rankings. Interesting. Find that on page 26.
Okay, so over to Vanguard newspaper, the big story there says FG are struggling to meet obligations despite rising revenue. That story can be found on page 11. There are a couple of riders, but I'm going to ignore them and get to the next headline. P2B can't beat Tinubu in Lagos again, presidency. That story can be found on page 8. Motorists commuters stranded as flood submerges Lagos roads. That story is on page 6. I think I saw a video and a commentary being made by somebody who resides in Lekki saying that for a week, no vehicle has been able to have access to their residential area because of the level of flood in that very place. FCCPC to marketers cut petrol prices or face sanctions on page 28 of Vanguard. This one says 2027 timeline. INEC parties disagree over access code for candidates on page 5. 4 bagged 95-year jail term for rape in Niger on page 28. Telecom subscribers rise to 188 million as broadband penetration hits 55.67%. While the number of subscribers is increasing, I hope the telecom operators are also utilization deadline. It's on page 6 of The Guardian. Senate defends state police bill as child of necessity on page 3. INEC releases access codes today as APC rejects fake list of candidates. That story can be found on page 3. NIMET workers to ground aviation activities over unpaid dues. That story is on page 3. I don't know how long this is going to last because from time to time it keeps surfacing. I don't know if there's no permanent solution to this issue of unpaid dues for NIMET workers. Then this one says Abuad multi-system hospital commences robotic surgery. That's on page 3. Doctors give FG fresh 4-week deadline over unpaid allowances on page 2. Dixon Kwankwaso meet as NDC alleges INEC denied portal access on page.
And according to this report by the Daily Sun newspaper, that the Diocese of Enugu Anglican Communion has raised concern over reports of terrorists allegedly operating from forests across the southeast, warning that the growing security threat in the region requires urgent intervention from both the federal and state governments. The concern was part of a communique issued at the end of the third session of the 19th Synod of the Diocese held at St. Peter's Church, Obwete.
We learned that the Anglican Bishop of Enugu State, Enugu Diocese, was the one making the insinuation, and you are asking, was that an intelligence report, or could it be an observation, or what he felt, or what he thought? In any case, he didn't tell us any of those ones, but the fact remains that the alarm was raised that terrorists, they have been hiding in Southeast Forests. But it was after, I think it was during their synod, where they was urging the federal and state governments to take immediate action to address the issue. But the truth remains that we know what is going on in the Southwest. We know what is going on in other parts of the country. We know how terrorists and even bandits and hagders, they have been hiding in different forests. If one tells us that, yes, they are in Southeast Forest, you may not put a challenge, you may not put an argument, because it is a common phenomenon. It's a decimal, common decimal everywhere. But the truth is, which forests are we being told, or which forests are we talking about? Because if you look at forests we have in the South, there are so many of them. We have forests in every state of the Southeast. We have in Anambra State, I'm aware that if you come to Anambra State, you have Ikenga Virgin Forest. There is a forest around that area. Ikenga is a virgin forest, untouched, no logging, no hunting, or cultivation. I don't know if he's telling us about the forest, even Mamu River Forest, the one along the Enugu and the Anambra border. You can also talk about the ones we have in other states, even in Obagu, and then Obako, or Hambele Forest. There's so many of them. So there's different forests we have in the Southeast. And if you tell us that these terrorists are hiding in a forest, it could also be quick enough to tell us the very forest, so that it becomes easier. Because I think that it could be his personal observation. I'm talking about the Bishop of Anglican Diocese of Enugu. It could be his personal observation, or he felt that these people could be there. But we are very much aware that their havoc across different parts of the country is not as we have in Southeast. And I've asked questions. People are saying that, yes, we have local vigilante forces. You also have those who are so much conscious about these people taking over our forest. Once they take over our forest, in fact, the looming danger is a matter of days once they're in your forest. But the point remains that, apart from being in the forest, that's why we are so much concerned about the state police, so that communities, villages, towns will take over their lands, as against what we have currently. What he said cannot be just discarded without any attempt to find out where could these people be. But I don't think it's what we call the false alarm. I don't want to take it as a false alarm. But the key thing is, we would also want to know the very place these people could be, according to him, because questions will be asked. And possibly for us to be more security conscious, you have to look at Kogi State. Most forests in Kogi State have been overrun by these people, and that's why they easily kidnap people. And once they kidnap you, they'll march you through the forest. And from what we are told, they keep changing location. Where they made contact with either the families of the victim at this point will not be where they will make another contact with them. They keep changing location, and the truth remains that I don't know if we have forest guard in most places, because we should have a forest guard. Their role is to combat forest from time to time.
And that's it in the way of surveillance, because unfortunately we do not have the tech-driven surveillance system. And I'd like to say that if we do not have any actual intelligence and the media talking about, or seconding what the Synod has put out there, there is a question there. I mean, where did you get your intelligence from? So that we don't have an alarmist kind of, information put out there that would just alarm people. People would run with the bandwagon. And actually, at the center of it all, is there any surveillance system? You just mentioned
we have those who do it solely for ransom payment. We have those who do it not just for ransom payment, but for jihadism, to take over your lands. And for headers, Fulani militia, that's where they belong. And for those we have around the southeast, the unknown government, their own is strictly for ransom payment and also for other criminal activities. Now, those who are for ransom payment and other criminal activities may use buildings, as you said. But the militia we are talking about, they don't make use of buildings. They make use of forest, strictly forest. And if you look at this observation from the synod, they were actually talking about the militia, not necessarily the kidnappers that make use of building. For the fact they are talking about the militia, and that's one reason why questions have been raised. Now, I discovered there was a time I was heading down to, was it Newi, but I was passing through Nobi Axis. I discovered that the thick forest behind the Ojo to Umoji Nobi Axis, we are being leveled because there were attempts to make sure that people can see through. We've discovered that there was somebody that was kidnapped at a point. The person was narrating the story for me, that he was kidnapped around that area. You know what? They put the person in a nearby bush that looks like forest, and the person stayed there for days until ransom was paid. Even where you least expected that they could be used as a shelter or hiding place for these kidnappers. I'm talking about kidnappers who are for ransom payment and other criminal activities. I'm not talking about the militia that are for jihadism, that they want to take over your land. The point is, I am of the opinion that we will do more to level some forests that are not strategically reserved. Forests that are strategically reserved must be combed. The ones that are not strategically reserved should be cleared. At least let us see through. I saw that happening around, if you're heading to Oka, if you apply the Enugu-Onitsha expressway, there will be a point you go to. You will understand that they are just making sure that you can see through the thick trees so that it will not be hidden for any criminal activities. That one is another attempt by the state government. We can also see how we can employ, if we don't go by Udogashi, they were mounted in isolated areas and also in some forests. They were mounted there. But these camps we actually destroyed. And some of them that have been also neutralized or killed. Some of them were also killed in such a kind of places. But more effort needs to be done. My concern is the Enugu Axis, because it seems to be the hotbed of this militia group along Iwe Titi, Nsukka Axis. If you are coming from Kogi State, because that's the boundary with Kogi State, that place.
Chukwu. Yeah, I think that should go with Chukwu. Agulese, Chukwu and Co. There was a time that security operative moved in, and we learned that they made some gains in those very areas. So the ones that have been known as criminal hideouts, have we been able to clear those ones? Then the ones that need to be identified to be cleared. I know that in Enugu State they have a forest guard, which was established by Governor Ugwani when he was governor. I think that was in 2019, and it was inherited by the current governor, which he has sustained. In Anambra, we do not have forest guard, but we have the Agone Chamber. Imo State also has a security arrangement, and Abia also has. So these people we have.
It is even ideal to clear all the forests, because we know why forests exist.
Have we cleared doesn't mean to go and pull down trees. They mean, to clear them of the hideouts.
All right. Some of these forests, they have been combed. They have been combed, no doubt. In fact, the one you talked about, the small forest, they have been combed. Even the Mother Valley, you mentioned, they have been combed. Some of these places have been combed. And that's one reason why, if you don't do these things, you are living in bondage, because you don't know when next strike will come from. And I've said it many times, even the local kidnappers are also making sure that the militia kidnappers do not come in there, because once they see the militia kidnappers, I'm talking about Fulani kidnappers who are out for jihadism, once the local kidnappers find them, they kill them. So they want to remain and be the king of the forest. Why they could the entry point, the exit point, but they were gently and gradually decimated by the security forces. Where we have problem is many of them now commit these things around the boundary area. They can move into the state and then leave the state and move into the other state. The efforts are still ongoing. But the key thing is, that's why we think that, because if you put out the state police, would they go into the forest? That's another thing. Many of them may not like to go into the forest. The vigilantes we have in place, they have done so well in such area. If not for the fact that they have been moving into some of these hidden places to get these people out.
So what is your suggestion?
I've said we must make some forest see-through, even not necessarily this forest. Why wouldn't we do that? They're easy because the trees can even make you implant cameras. Yes. Trees can implant cameras around these areas, even the audio system. Once there's anything, you easily sight it. You can even use, I don't know, if we have also come of age to even invent sensors, mount sensors. Once there is any detection of any, there's a way sensor detects movement. It will send signal. There are things we can do. Some of these things are doable.
And we are not ready to invest.
That is the issue.
Okay, let us go over to politics because on Friday, I think we had left the studio when news broke about the deregistration of the NDC. According to a court ruling, we understood that it was a court ruling from the Federal High Court in Lokoja, Kogi State, setting aside its earlier judgment directing the INEC to register the NDC. So it set aside its judgment. And according to reports, we understand that there's been a marathon strategy meeting involving the presidential candidate of the party, Peter Obi, national leader Siriake Dixon, national working committee members, and other key stakeholders. And of course, we understand that there's going to be an appeal today against the court ruling that nullified its registration. Yesterday, Siriake Dixon had a couple of things to say, and according to him, he refuses to accept that judgment. I'll quickly play some part of the audio and then we get on with the conversation.
And I join also all well-meaning Nigerians and even people from outside Nigeria who have expressed their outrage.
Just like we said earlier on, we did a extensive work on this last week Saturday, but you asked what legal ground. If you look at the statement coming from Justice Issa Denshen of the Federal High Court local television, he was saying that he did not in any way grant odi or terem patem to PMP, Peace Movement Party. That he did not grant that he ought to have listened to them. That they made application for them to be listened to, but that was not granted. That it is constitutionally defective. On May 5th, you can imagine, after judgment was delivered, sometime around December, somebody filed a motion challenging that. But nevertheless, just like I said, even if, let's assume that the judgment affected them, because what PMP is challenging is their logo was stolen. That NDC stole their logo. And PMP, we know very well, has not been registered as a political party. Even when you are not registered as a political party, you are saying that somebody who was registered as a political party stole your logo. So that what it means that as they are pushing for registration, which other logo are they going to use? But the truth is, when the judgment was obtained in December, where were you? You did not even come January, February, March, April, and then after given PMP fair hearing, which it did not. At what point did PMP file the motion that it wasn't given the fair hearing? It's just another thing.
So Tony, who is after the ticket of P2B and Rabiu Kwankwaso? Because from what you have explained and what is out there, one is that PMP is not the registered political party. So the argument of NDC stealing its logo may not stand. And don't forget that when NDC was denied registration by INEC, the argument was that the NDC logo has some semblance with APC logo. So APC was the case at that point in time, not even PMP. Now PMP is not a registered political party. And then this local High Court or Federal High Court delivered judgment on December 10, 2025. And nobody bothered to even go to appeal or even go to the same court to review whatever he has done. Let's assume that that is obtainable in law. And then 2 days after P2B joined NDC, that was on May 5th, somebody went to the same court and filed an appeal or filed a motion. And the same people in NDC, likes of Saraki, they're saying there's no cause for alarm, that they are going to go to appeal court and ensure that everything gets in order. But the big question is, who is after P2B Rabi Okonkwo's ticket? Because based on what we have seen, we're talking based on what we have seen. We're talking based on what could be called.
Could be logical to say so, but it may not be factual, because something may be logical and it might not be factual. Logical in the sense that the logics points to one thing, but facts remain facts, and facts are sacred. Facts, have to do with the fact that you must bring an evidence that points to that, or there must be traceable evidence. But that's by the way. And then, just like I said earlier on, when the word fontus official, because that's been the most cited word in this issue now, that the court has become a fontus official. Fontus official in the sense that he has completed his task. And anytime a court passes a judgment, it has no jurisdiction again on that matter. He has no jurisdiction. He has completed his task. That's the word fontus official. You have completed your tax.
So now let's look at the implication going forward. This particular matter, how do you not preempting the court now, but if you say the court has completed its task going forward, that means this judgment that was passed, they should not have done it because they had already passed the judgment on this matter. And so first, I'm looking at this the place where our judiciary is at the moment, that what you just mentioned is supposed to be an ethical thing for the judiciary, right? But they went on to pass another judgment. Now, I wouldn't say this is anchored on any influence, but the question is, how did we become so eroded of the ethics of the legal system that a court goes back to pass judgment on a matter it has passed judgment on before? That is my first question. And the second question is, what are the implications going forward?
Well, the implication is the continuous loss of confidence in the judicial system, because many Nigerians have lost confidence in the judicial system. Many people prefer to go to Google or go to Amadioha as against going to the courts, because for them, courts have become viable, something you can influence, and it's not good for our democracy. It's in fact a dangerous precedent. And I've said it many times that we have to change quite a lot of things we do in this country. Because if you look at the judges of the Federal High Courts are appointed by Mr. President, acting on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council. Because if you look at Section 250, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and it tells you that the appointment of a person to the office of a judge of the Federal High Court shall be made by the President on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council. In fact, for the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, the Constitution provides a different procedure, that the appointment of a person to the office of Chief Judge of the Federal High Court shall be made by the President on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council, subject to confirmation of such appointment by the Senate. You find out that whoever becomes the Chief Judge of a Federal High Court, or Oporobrim,
Tony, what happened at the Federal High Court in Lokoja? Can it be called judicial misconduct? If it's within that very realm of judicial misconduct, can't NJC, initiate an investigation on its own? What they call, I think they call it a sumuto. Yes, sumuto in Latin parlance.
Well, you ask, the National Judicial Council is not limited to acting only when a formal petition is filed. It's not limited. It can also conduct on its own initiative if credible information suggesting judicial misconduct comes to its attention. It must not wait for a written petition, but just like I said, it can only act on its own initiative, but there must be credible information suggesting judicial misconduct before it.
You just mentioned that what they have done is tantamount to judicial misconduct. I mean, if the ethics says you don't go back on the matter you have decided on, that is enough premise, if you ask me.
That is it. But you have to wait. But for you to make it timely, you must write a petition, because if you wait for it to initiate the move on its own, you don't tell the agency when to initiate, because
I understand what you're saying. And again, Tony, I beg to ask, isn't that part of the rot we are experiencing in the judicial sector? Because if the NJC does not rise timely I would have thought that the NJC would be speaking by now. The judge probably getting suspended because you do not go against the ethics. I don't get it.
Just like we've said earlier on, and I've said it, that in fact judicial discipline regulations expressly cover complaints or petition made by parties involved against a judicial officer or proceedings initiated by the NJC in the exercise of its constitutional disciplinary powers. We have just stated that. But just like you said, being that this judge acted beyond known practices, ethical conducts, laws, and you cannot find why he did what he did. And you ask, can NJC on its own, because these things are reported widely, but just like I said, is judiciary truly independent? Because we are looking at it from the angle that things should work by default without anything pressuring it or triggering it. The things should work. But have we seen in Nigeria where things work without any trigger? I'm asking. Mostly, I'm not. Most times things work if there is initiation or a trigger. At times, even if you do that trigger, it may not even come out to a conclusive end. The truth remains that all eyes are the national judicial body, because they have a procedure for this. And I've said it. Appeal court, I don't know if NDC, I don't know, because from look of things, INEC has said they are reviewing the CTC of that judgment. And NDC came asking INEC for passcode for them to upload the candidates of the party. INEC denied them that, telling them that there is a judgment before them, they are studying. They will hear from them.
Okay. Certainly, as it stands now, what is the fate of those who are on NDC platform? I mean, those people who have been nominated to vie for political positions under NDC, the likes of Obi. In fact, this very morning, people are already doing some calculations, making some speculation that eventually, if NDC is not going to be on ballot, there's no room for them to move to any other party or to contest. But before the law now, based on what we know, before the law, is NDC still a registered political party in Nigeria, or is now a mere political association?
You asked a very vital question. Is NDC, as we speak now, in the eyes of the law, a registered political party or just a political association? There is a judgment. No matter how wrongly the judgment could come or could be, the court had expressively asked INEC to deregister NDC. And of course, INEC is obliged to do so. But remember, INEC can also file appeal in this case, because from the time immemorial, they were party to the same suit. INEC can only do two things: obey what the court has asked you to do, or file stay of execution, based on the fact that you were part and parcel of the whole processes. But INEC will not do that.
How soon is INEC expected to do that?
Judgment has been given, and it's expected that INEC should do that, I think, within a space of 21 days. But let me say this: you don't expect INEC to do that because they argued over the issue of that logo. They were defeated by NDC. So you won't tell them to file stay of execution over what they were arguing. But the arguments were two folds. They were not arguing because it belonged to PMP. They were arguing, just as they said, it is a gesture that is a kind of a replica of APC, not logo, but APC's gesture. And the court does not know what is gesture. What the court understands is logo. What is APC logo? Broom. What is the, NDC logo? Two fingers in the air. They are not the same. But INEC is saying, APC does use two fingers in the air as a gesture. The court says we don't know what a gesture is. What the law provides is a logo. It was on that basis that the court said they must be registered.
And it's even weird that another party was also hoping to use that supposed gesture and even took it to court. Let's leave it on that matter because we are hoping that after the appeal, which is supposed to be heard today, tomorrow would give you updates on.
No. They will just file an appeal, and the appeal court will just, give them dates for possible, exchange of briefs, and there will be adoption of briefs because time is on its of essence.
Oh wait, we are still filing today.
And remember,
I read somewhere that there is supposed to be some speedy.
It could be. It may happen in the way that of ADC because in the case of ADC, a federal high court ordered INEC to register ADC. They filed an appeal immediately. An appeal court because the matter was still pending. And the appeal court described the exercise as a futile exercise. You know why their own was speedy? Because the matter is still before appeal court. And appeal court has given stay of proceeding. They went further to give judgment when there was an existing stay of proceeding. Right now, you ask a question, in the eyes of the law, NDC may not really be a registered political party because the court had ordered it to be registered. But now the question is, was the court a competent court? The answer is no, it wasn't a competent court of jurisdiction. It wasn't but no matter how incompetent the court could be, you must vacate the judgment. It is twofold. Based on our practices, an incompetent court of jurisdiction had given an order, which INEC is expected to obey. Based on that, it may not sound as a political party. But you cannot take anything from incompetence. But if INEC does this, you will not blame INEC. You will not blame INEC. You must go and vacate that very judgment. Right now, they are at crossroads. What is the fate, as you ask? The fate of the candidates. Their fate hangs in appeal court and Supreme Court ruling. That's where their fate belongs.
You know what's even more funny, Tony, is that some persons have interpreted this as a use on the judicial system to further shrink our democracy. And let's leave it at that. We keep our fingers crossed. In the coming days, there will be definitely more developments on this matter, and we would keep you updated. You know how we do it. Bring you those stories as they break and keep you updated as they develop. Now let's go over to the FCCPC. That's the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, warning petrol marketers and depot owners and operators and retailers that they could face sanctions if investigations show they were exploiting consumers. Now, we understand that the price of crude has reduced, and the other day we argued it out here if it has impacted the lifting costs from a refinery, which, by the way, unfortunately, we are gradually coming to the point of monopoly. Now, the question is where FCCPC stands now. Where does this enforcement power begin and end, especially where the average Nigerian is actually being affected by the cost of petrol?
For me, I think it is appalling. It is very painful, very disturbing, quite troubling, lugubrious that when oil price at the international market, upon which we have been judged and punished by,
especially for an oil-producing nation.
Of course, yes. And the price has come down to $69 to $71 per barrel. I was told that West Texas is about $69, but Brent crude is about $71. These things are dear. These were exactly prices of these products before they went up. We are expecting that petrol to be sold at 800 or below 900 as we speak, because these were the prices before the whole thing started. And petrol we are sold at 820, 840, 830, depending on locations. And now the price had fallen down to where the prices were. Now, what is actually holding these people? This will tell you a typical corporate entity in Nigeria is exploitative. And it is through government regulations that they can be held accountable. Now, people who are blaming government, you don't blame these people, because I said earlier on, I have said it on many times, I have been here. It is the duty of government to protect Nigerians from being exploited. People will tell you it's my business, it's my private business.
Isn't that the duty of FCCPC?
Of course. Not even consumer protection too. Of course, that's the one you're talking about. Then you talk about the MDR, the regulators of the medium and the stream in question. We've talked about it. We've talked about upper stream, because this has not to do with upper stream. We are talking about NDPPRA. These people should, because these are agencies of government, of course, that are paid with taxpayers' money. Why would price come down and you have not reflected the international market price upon which we were selling before. And we are counting days, not just days, weeks. And these people have been exploiting this country. And that is why we have not heard anything from Dangote. The least he could do, or the least he did, was actually to review the price downward twice. But you can't be having a gantry price of 1,120 naira. It's too high.
But where the NMDPRA, that's the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, can regulate petroleum operations, licenses, and product quality, distribution, and fair competition within the downstream sector. I also understand that they cannot fix prices. And now, where a refiner tells you that I still have crude bought at that price, do you really have the jurisdiction to move in to regulate?
You can't just say you have crude, at that price. Whatever invoice you have should be
tendered.
Also, tendered, because you can't just say you have it by mere talking. Any exploiter will tell you anything just to prove or
and we're still on the same track. And so if they tender, and let's say the NMDPRA goes into investigation and they tender, would you really in good conscience expect that the price of petrol would crash automatically?
Definitely, you have an inventory that you believe that you bought at a very high price, and now the price has come low. Now the question is, let's take you back to when the price went up. You bought at a very low price. The price went up. You start selling at a high price. See, it is vice versa, in the sense that when the price went up, you started selling at that price immediately. Does it mean that you never had inventory when you started selling at that price? You had inventory, you had stocks. You bought at a very low price, but because the market price has gone up, you started selling at a very high price. Now, you have got stock. You believe you bought at a very high price and the market price has gone down. You must reverse immediately. If you can do immediate switch when the price went up, do immediate switch when the price went back. Because it is fair in law, it is fair in natural justice, it is fair in everything, in economics. They don't have any reason.
But unfortunately, we know that this fairness is not going to be adhered to.
It must be adhered to because you don't have institutions that ensure to its adherence. You know what these people do? They will go and bribe those who are to do this work, give them money, and these people will remain like a lame duck. They will not do anything. That's what happens, and nobody checkmates that. And we want to see where situations where there are not human interfaces in ensuring the right things are done. I've said it many times that there must be digitization, and even calls by these entities must be at the same time followed. But you cannot follow WhatsApp calls, because if they want to commit anything, they use WhatsApp calls to commit whatever they want to commit. They will not even use regular calls. The point I'm making is this: people are angry that government hasn't come to their eggs. It is the duty of government to make sure that nobody is exploited, even if you think it's their private. You can't buy at any price and sell at whatever price you want. It's never done in any country.
Okay, so looking at Nigeria, I think I have maintained this very line for a long time, that Nigeria is a country where every economic theory is defied because the Shylock interest is always there. The issue of when the demand is this one happens, we find a way to defy that, because there's that element of greed in every one of us that will try to exploit the other. Now, asking these very people who have purchased petrol from depots at a high price to drop the price now, because the price of crude oil in the international market is dropping now. It's like a far cry, or it's like trying to take a horse to the stream and trying to force the horse to train, because they will have 1005 reasons they will give you why the price will not go down now. Now, I'm now looking at what could possibly be done, and looking at what has been taken as a step, because NNDPRA, I'm aware that as of June 24, there was a report that the agency has approved a fresh round of fuel import permit for major oil marketers because they want to bring the price down. And if you look at that very distribution, you see the likes of Rano Oil, they have some allocations. You see the likes of Pinnacle, they have some allocations. Nipco, just name them, they all have allocations. And I looked at the allocations and I was trying to see, by the time this very import begin to come into Nigeria, to what extent would it affect this very price? Because what we need now for the price to come down is there must be that very competition. Because if these importers go to Switzerland, for instance, and they get refined petrol, or they get petrol at the value of the current value internationally, when they come in here, the landing cost could be lower than what these very independent marketers go to all these depots that are supplied by Dangote to buy. Perhaps it can help to crash the price. So to what extent do you think that when this import begin to land, it can affect the price of petrol at the end point?
Definitely, competition brings down price. It's a known law.
Can it get back to 800 naira?
Of course it can. That's why Dangote never allowed or wanted any competitor in this business. In United States of America, we call it antitrust law. Antitrust law. Go and look at that antitrust law. It talks about there must be competition in everything. Because the government of the United States of America believes that where there is competition, definitely there will be more values, there will be price control, and a lot of things without even government coming in. Now, here in Nigeria, tell me why just an incident. Of course, we know we have failed as a people, we have failed as a government, we have failed in every sense. Because if you have not failed, our refineries should be
working
and at the same time providing the competition.
Well, Tony, where they are not working and not providing the competition is even a far cry. I mean, I understand. I think Boa is working on a refinery last time I checked. But this is a far cry. This is a long-term project. And in the immediate, it's rather unfortunate.
That is why the government has approved licenses to some of the importers you mentioned. And Dangote is ready to take government to court over this because he believes you cannot approve licenses. But look at all the products we do buy at this point. Of course, apart from NNPC Limited making little imports strategically. Apart from that, no other imports we have been able to cite. Now, these licenses have been approved. The idea is to see if they can provide competition to Dangote in a way that he will not do what he's doing now. The gantry price should not be over 1,000 naira. The question is, how much are you buying the raw crude from NNPC Limited? And NNPC Limited should come out and speak how much it is selling the product to the
last time I checked, NNPCL is part of the problems we have.
Dangote is making us to believe that the NNPC Limited has not even brought down the raw crude price, even when the international market price has come down, that it can only sell based on what it purchased. Now, why is NNPC Limited is not talking? Because they should come out and tell us why. It seems that it's a collab between them and Dangote presently. Because Dangote is not talking that we are still buying this product at so price from NNPC Limited. NNPC Limited is not also talking that look at the amount we are selling to Dangote. None of them is talking. Both of them are not talking. So for the fact that both of them are not talking, it could be seen that they are in collabo. For the fact that these things are happening. But it boils down to government. We have Ministry of Petroleum Resources. And Mr. President is the Minister of Petroleum Resources. We also have the Minister of State, Henikan Loboberi. And Henikan Loboberi is nowhere to be found. He has lost his voice. We have not seen him. He hasn't been talking. So these are things we are seeing around.
We need to take a break.
Maybe anything about the price movement could be as from maybe mid-July or even up to August, because from the way it is now, it might take some time before the import begin to land into the country.
Let's take a break now. Attend to some commercials. When we come back, we open up the phone lines to stay.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
For you, Wendy's bread, the perfect slice, every single bite, and truly nice, soft inside, golden brown, the finest loaf inside this cloud. Wendy's bread, we always from the heat straight to your hand, good aroma in the land, every family they want some more. Wendy's bread, the king of store.
Visit our office at 2nd Business Park, Enugu Road, beside CPS Onitsha, or St. Michael's Plaza, Atani Road, or Plot DBS Road, Asaba. You can also call us on 071 439 15071. Wendy's Bread, your tasty bread.
Travel, Okwaya, my guy. Follow Uno Road. If you feel like say you want travel this night, no worry. Travel smart, travel safe, travel in comfort and style with GUO night bus service from Onitsha and Asaba, going straight to Abuja. Whether you're heading to Maraba, Kubwa, Utako, or Abuja Central, GUO Transport gives you a smooth and comfortable journey all night. Experienced drivers day, modern luxury buses day, and a commitment to passenger safety. Departure time is 7:30 p.m. daily. Takeoff is at Onitsha and Asaba. So why spend the night worrying on the road when you can travel comfortably and arrive feeling fresh? Book your seats today. For reservations and inquiries, call 0906 639 8630 or 0700 012 1000 or 0903 336 7275. GUO Transport Company. Comfort, safety, and reliability.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Get involved. Put a call across to 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694, 0803-221-6973. Good morning. You have a minute. Turn down the volume on your radio set. Good morning.
Good morning.
You have a minute. What is your name? Where are you calling from? Go ahead, please. Hello. Good morning. Are you there? Hello? 0803-221-6973. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my sister. Good morning, my speaker, Tony Becker.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
And Franklin, this is the voice of Ignition Sokoye from our ancient kingdom. But I'm calling you from Neo now. My speaker, I think my little experience of registration of certain things by these people, that group that registers business and other things. I think it's what we sent to in its own corporate affairs. I can remember when I wanted to go and register a business. It happened to be that somebody had already used that name, that logo. They asked me to go and find another one. It goes down immediately, and they're giving us excuses that they want the bought is too costly. That kind of thing is, I don't understand. The only problem is this: the federal government, both federal government and the state government, have failed the citizens of this country. That is the main problem, because if they are working, they're supposed to immediately go and show, look for those who are selling this cost price and fight it. But what they care is only for their belly. They are not here for the masses. That is only what we know. APC, the reason why they are in government is just to enrich themselves. That is the only problem that we are having. Concerning this ADC saga, court and everything, the reason why all this is coming is for P2B. Once P2B left this party now and go to another party, you will see they will start fighting again. That is the only reason is they don't want him to be on the ballot box. But the masses are watching, because we are going to see this coming 2027 election will be a war. Thank you.
0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
This is the commercial driver that loves Udala. Calling right now from Awada.
Good to have you. Talk to us.
Yeah, my country, my great country, Nigeria. I wish for this country. So Basically was talking about the NJC. Our system has been, our judiciary has been compromised, right from the head to the bottom. Because I see no reason where there will be double standard. Where a judge makes mistake or, make a certain judgment that is not does not concede to what the judgment is supposed to be. They're supposed to sanction. They'll come into it and stop waiting for petition. My dear sister, the system has been compromised from top to the bottom. The NJC, we are saying that they should come inside. Have they not been compromised? Let's just wait and see. I pray that this shouldn't cause a revolution in this country. I wait for this country. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Chisom. Good morning this morning.
You're welcome.
And Franklin, good morning. My name is, I'm not hearing you people, but I think you are hearing me. My name is Honorable Christian. Yes, I'm calling from Upo.
Go ahead, please.
What I want to say concerning this fuel of 18 is that our government is not a helping matter to Nigerians. Because even if crude oil has increased, let them increase the one that they are exporting. But the ones that they are supplying to Dankota, let the price remain like that. Because Nigeria is the one that's buying that one. Increasing the one that has found to Dankota is not fair. Because Dankota is supplying fuel to Nigeria. Let us increase the one that they are exporting to another country. So that is my take this morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you. And let's hear you. You can also drop your comment on Facebook. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, everyone in the studio. I am Gredim Ezia Patego, radiating from Osmo.
Go ahead.
Yes. George, coming back to it's George. You see, that is the rottenness of Nigeria and the rottenness in Nigeria. Because one man is involved. Because of whatever ethnic tribalism Nigeria is playing and Nigerian politicians. Let me tell you, not that the judiciary is not independent. Government, all arms of three arms of government are independent on their own. It is left for the individual to maintain its or his independence. Anyone that wants to compromise will compromise, irrespective of the fact. Talking about the issue of the reverse judgment against NDC, you can only see this in a country that will never to progress. Well, this thing is not the first time it happens. It is happening in our judicial system. Then you ask yourself, what measures have the judiciary has been taken towards this rascality in judiciary? There is not. That is why you see some judges behaving like people who always take color, who are always on drugs, because they know that whatever that they give out, whether you like it or not, you will take it and nobody will punish them. Well, I'm so bitter because as much as I'm not alone from our country, and we are weekly and praying that God Almighty will rise a pillar so we stand in the gap and succeed on Nigeria Earth. Next 2 years, I don't know what we have to do. Thank you so much.
All right then. Thank you. And we take a few more calls and head over to Facebook. All right, then you would need to reconnect. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, this is the voice of Igwe reaching you from Onitsha.
Go ahead, Igwe.
Yeah, you see, I don't blame, I even wonder why people should be blaming Dangote for price this or that. You understand? See, you have control over what you have a order of. You understand? It's just like sometimes people will say government will control house rent. People will do this. How many houses have the government that maybe if the landlord refuse to give the tenants houses, maybe government will say, "Well, come on our own and pay low cost." You understand? Dangote is a private individuals. If our refineries are working, we don't have any problem with that. You understand? And because those people involved or that say that they are in charge don't want our refineries to work because of the bribery or the back money that they will be making from all those companies, the amount that is involved, they prefer our refineries not to work. And they do this. How can you come and be telling somebody, a private individual that you gave license to do business, you are now controlling his price, the price that you don't know how much he bought or how he sort it out? You understand? I wonder how people will be saying that instead of us to be blaming the federal government, who's supposed to put our refineries in order and let us be refining our own product in the country here. You don't control somebody who don't have monopoly on what you are giving him. You understand me? That is in business. When you only thing you have control of is what maybe you are the one giving that very person the thing and everything about it. If he refuses to work on your own this council, you stop him. But this one now, somebody is importing from outside, doing everything on his own, and you are there blaming him for doing this or doing that. The money that he's using to import all those things during those prices, is it federal government money? The answer is no.
All right.
So people should not be blaming Dangote. Let us blame the federal government for failing to put our refineries in order.
All right, then let's head over to Facebook.
Okay, so we have a couple of reactions here. So let's see who we have first here on the reaction portal. Okay, just a bit. Okay, so we begin from the post made by those who are saluting us. So we thank you for the salute. The likes of Obi Beke, the smiling angel, who salutes you. Chinyerike, thank you for watching. Christian Umen Nakwes says Tinubu will win next year's election because all political power is gotten from economic power, and Tinubu is the richest man in Nigeria. According to him, even Dangote respects and obeys his commands. He goes on to say Tinubu is the richest man in Nigeria because God has given him more connection toward the elite controlling high technology in Europe, US, and China than any other person in Nigeria. I had to cut short your post. Sebastian Abigwe from Ugwabobosi, he says, what is happening in our judicial system leaves a lot of questions begging for an answer. The deregistration of some political parties, especially the NDC, may spark a lot of controversy in the country because all these moves are being orchestrated by the ruling party. And he says, very unfortunate, our constitution is not having matters owing to the enormous powers bestowed on Mr. President. And he says, Mr. Speaker, just like we always say that the best of military rule is the worst in any democratic setting, as it stands now, I stand to be corrected. Okay, Dr. Misimo Libera from Owerri State says P2B is giving you their sleepless nights, and we continue to be their nightmare. There is no way he can have one. There is no way we can have one party system in this country, because if we do, nobody will question the government of the day and hold it accountable. Who then will speak on behalf of the masses? Without opposition, democracy is meaningless. We are in a serious trouble in this country. I had to cut short to your post. Gregory Thaddeus says, he posted from Asaba, the judgment against NDC is judicial rascality and must not stand. NDC should file a stay of execution and immediately reverse it at the appeal court. The judiciary and desperate APC politicians should stop embarrassing Nigeria. They cannot stop the new Nigeria we expect from the candidacy of Mr. P2P. Mzekwe Celestine says people are settling for jungle justice probably because the judiciary is no longer the hope of a common man, and sometimes when these guys are being handed over to the police, the case always goes the way of business as usual. So tell me whom to trust now, the judiciary or the police? I think what we should do is to overhaul the police and reform judiciary. And the Odile Aloysius says, please, for some time now, the issue of abducted school children and the teachers has been silent. Have they been released? He's asking a question from Umar Nam. Master BSJ says, the problem Nigeria has is the problem of corrupt people in judiciary and INEC. Only in Nigeria I see a very intelligent fellow that is corrupt. And kept his certificate in the bedroom for reasons best known to him. He posted from Onitsha. Jacob Bishop from Accra, Ghana says the Nigerian judiciary under the APC government has been reduced to an equal situation, and he says, may God help us. Ivan Sude says, personally, I never knew that a day will come when I will actually miss Buhari's administration. As bad as some of his policies were, he still allowed opposition to thrive. It's very unfortunate that the present government spends more time and resources fighting oppositions than in actual governance. Ugochukwu Frank says, a lot of Nigerians have been asking this question. If fuel prices rise quickly when crude price goes up, they should also fall when crude price drops. Hopefully, the investigation will clarify what is really driving the current prices. And he wants to say that, okay, I wish you were in your current business. Ichie Billion says, let's assume that the judgment of the Kogi Federal High Court is withheld by the subsequent court. Can Peter be moved to another party and still be a presidential candidate? Okay, it's a question. Just Chuk says, he posted from Asaba, this government has put all our institutions. They will dance to the tunes of their tax masters. Nothing seems to work in this country as long as the president makes all the appointments. Ekegona says the body in charge of regulating fuel price is no longer working. And he adds, APC government doing all they can just to see that Peter Obi's name will not be on the ballot paper come 2027. These are the reactions from our Facebook page.
All right, then. Tony, your final words as we end today's edition of the Polity.
I think somebody asked a question if you can get a question.
Like if there's a window for anybody will be to move to another party.
I think if you recall by the judgment of the Federal High Court in Abuja delivered by Justice Mohammed J. Umar, where the judgment held that INEC cannot lawfully shorten statutory timeline fixed by the Electoral Act through its administrative timetable or guidelines. Remember that the INEC had said May 10 was the deadline, requiring no political parties to submit their membership register as we were told, but the court said that was invalid. But then we also saw another court giving a conflicting judgment, so the matter raised before appeal court. Whether P2B or whoever affected by the judgment of the Federal High Court's Lokoja, what be the person's fate will be determined by appeal court ruling. Appeal court, the matter is before appeal court based on the ruling of the Federal High Court under Justice Garuba Muhammad. So, based on the time or deadline for submission of candidates' names and lists as we have in amongst political party, the court has shifted it to September. So, movement is a function of what appeal court will determine. That is one. And then secondly, let's see and watch how things progress in this country. We have to watch and wait and then see. But the truth is, the Akara thing is actually what is causing drama across the country. People, even men, have joined the trend. And it's that distraction. People are saying that Nigerians are easily distracted. But it seems that the First Lady has distracted the country from what they were actually talking about. Nobody's talking about the pump price, the need for the pump price to come down. But everybody's talking about Akara selling. I see those who are frying this. I mean, if that be the trend, Nigerians are easily bought over by trends. That's what I have to say.
Right then, Franklin.
Well, for me, I do not think that is a distraction because as the conversations go on, whether those who are making meme, those who are making mockery of it, it helps to deepen the conversation for us to understand and appreciate better what the First Lady said and whether it holds water in the present economic realities of the country. Our opinions have been very divergent, but I must tell you that what she said, I looked at it from the point because I had to listen to the entire audio. People were talking about context. If you look at the entire audio, she was talking about what she believed that the government has been able to achieve when it comes to trying to empower Nigerians and jumpstart the economy. But the question has been, it's not that people don't appreciate decent work or honest work as small as Akara business. People make money from it, but out of 100 who go into Akara business, how many of them have been able to come out of poverty from finding Akara? For a government that, okay, not even a government, okay, for somebody who floats an initiative called Renew Hope Initiative, aimed at helping vulnerable women, If you can give cars to APC women leaders, and then you now call vulnerable women and give them 50,000 naira to begin a car business. Let's even start from the basic.
Can 50,000 naira really start
Let's
a
even
car
start
business
from the
from
basic.
scratch?
From the scratch, can that 50,000 naira set up a car business? If you do the mathematics.
Oh, well, I'm not going to sign out today without reminding you that 42 people they are taken away from a school in Oyo State. And this is not just about me being a mother and, maybe crying more than the bereaved. These children, just like every other Nigerian child, deserves to go to school and return home safely. No mother needs to or deserves to send a child to school and now wait 44 days and counting because